This is Radiant Voices Media.
Welcome to the Paths We Take podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DeSange. Let's hit a path. Hey there, and welcome to the Paths We Take, the show where we explore journeys that shape who we become, the challenges that test us, and the moments that define our path. Today's guest is someone whose story sits at the intersection of discipline, identity, and performance. Emma shares her story beyond the titles. Her journey is one of growth, resilience, and learning what it really means to commit to a path and something that demands both physical and mental strength. In this episode, we talk about where her fitness journey began, what drew her to the world of bodybuilding, what competing really looks like behind the scenes, and the lessons she's learned along the way about health, mindset, self-worth, and everything else that comes with the sport. Today's episode, once again, is for anybody and everybody. If you have a family member who competes, who is getting into bodybuilding, I think this can really enlighten and open up your eyes about what it takes behind the scenes for a show. If you are a new bodybuilder, somebody wanting to get into the space, or just somebody who goes to the gym, I think this is a great episode for you to, again, learn about the world of bodybuilding, learn about the mindset that goes into competition prep, a show, things like that, but also just gives everybody a little bit more compassion about the gym, about where everybody is at the gym, and that stepping into a space isn't as scary as it seems sometimes. I want to welcome Emma to the podcast, and let's get into today's path. All right, let's talk about supplements that actually earn a spot in my routine. Not hype, just results. I love the Tropica matcha because I love clean energy without the crash. But also I like how this matcha is smooth, it's not bitter, and I genuinely look forward to having it every day. There's also the pineapple creatine. Creatine isn't just for muscle performance, you guys. There is more research coming out about how it supports mental clarity, mood, etc., etc. If you train, think, move, breathe, you should be taking creatine, in my opinion. At nighttime, I also love their beauty custard. It legit tastes like dessert and supports recovery while I sleep. It is collagen, so it's great for the skin, the hair, joints, longevity. Both men and women, everybody should be taking collagen. You guys can use my code JORDSDAY10 at checkout to save yourself some money. That's JORDZDAY10 at checkout. JORDSDAY10. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for joining me. The first question that I like to ask everybody on the show is, if the person had an autobiography in front of them and it was your autobiography, what is some things that you would find in that autobiography?
I feel like it'd be quite interesting. I suppose there'd be a lot of everything I guess a part of my why is women empowerment, and part of that is because of my own journey. So I have discovered myself probably in the last 10 years, I would say. So many different aspects of myself that I've rediscovered or found again or grown into. So the autobiography, I think it would go on a few tangents. There'd be a few chapters in there. I think it would be a lot of self journey, self discovery, empowering and leading the way, and hopefully it would inspire some women that need to find that themselves.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because we all have our own path, and I think I've talked about, and we've talked about reflection on the podcast a lot. And I think self-discovery is such a hard thing because unless you use the power of reflection, unless you use, things like that, it's a bit hard to, discover the future sometimes. But at the same time, we don't want to dwell on the past. We want to move forward, but it's finding a fine line and that balance between both, really. But what I'm interested in maybe getting started with is, where did it all start for you when it comes to health, fitness, when it comes to, that kind of world? Because I think I love asking that question, and I love having people like yourself on because I think like we're all unique and we all find fitness in a different way and we have a different passion for it. So for you, where did it all start?
Well, it really started not in the most positive way, I would say. So as I was as a teenager, I developed an eating disorder. I was severely bulimic, and no one knew. And I was for a good 15 to 17 years. It was quite, um, it was horrible. And I was really, really stuck in it. Just an ever repeating cycle. So within that, I used to over exercise. So I used to be a real cardio bunny and just try and get skinny. I just wanted to be skinny so hard. And I was, for me, I've always felt like a failure. I couldn't achieve it because I just never looked the way that I was trying to look without, hurting myself in that way. So yeah, that was probably my first introduction to fitness in terms of like cardio. I was doing back to back classes and then doing the bad behavior after. So where it changed for me was well then I had my children, so I actually went cold turkey on the bulimia, which was I was pretty proud of myself for being able to do that because the greater good was obviously trying to get my body healthy for having children. Had the children, 3 of those, popped them out, and then I discovered bodybuilding, and that really changed everything for me. I remember being in a gym and this woman came in and she was an older lady and she was just ripped and she was strong and she was in the men's area, which was the weights area back then. Like you'd never see women in that. And I was like this nervous little thing, like full of social anxiety and low confidence. And I thought, God damn it, I'm going to go over to her and ask her how. Like, how does she look like that? I never seen anything like it. And so I like walked over her. I said, oh my gosh, like you look incredible. What do you do? And she goes, you need to lift like a man, go in the weight section and eat protein. And all of this was new to me because it was always about trying to just get skinny and less food and not look big. And so I went home and I just went hyper focused on it. I researched and I got stuck into the gym. I started lifting like the big lifts, deadlifts, squats, all of that. And my body changed really fast. So fast that in 6 months later, I thought I could stand on a stage. So I did that. So yeah, the mindset change for me was suddenly I wasn't trying to get smaller. I was lifting for strength. And in that came empowerment. I felt boss and I felt good. And yeah, I got strong. I got bigger in some way because I'm building muscle. So I had to fuel my body for once. And that was so new to me. And seeing that the effort I was putting into that was giving me the physique differences was really encouraging. And yeah, 6 months later, I stood on a stage and then it all just kind of fell into place.
Awesome. And when did this start? Like how long ago did you start this journey?
It'll be 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a very interesting topic because again, we've talked about this before and I find it so interesting getting others' perspective because 10 years ago in the gym, I think it looked a lot different than it does now. Even when it comes to, like you were saying, females, like there weren't a lot of females in that weight section or lifting the heavy weights. And, I think we just as society know a whole lot more when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness, the importance of lifting weight and resistance training and everything. And it's awesome that we've evolved in that way. But yeah, it's interesting. What did the space look like back then for females and for yourself? Because I can only imagine that it might be because there were so few maybe females doing something that of, and social media was probably different back then as well. You didn't have this access to seeing so many people in the space. Was it isolating at all, or what did it feel like? Continuing and starting this journey as a woman in the space?
Yeah, it was definitely isolating. And you do hear that bodybuilding is a solo sport, and it's it's just you up there. So back 10 years ago, there were no women in my gym, so I was doing the thing, and it was really intimidating. And I still train the same way I trained then that I do now. My hat's low, my headphones on, and I just get in and I do it. So yeah, just had to laser focus on the plan, on the goal of what I wanted to achieve. But yeah, there was no women back then in the gym, and it's only 10 years ago. But now it's just come right around, and it's so the isolation and even in the comp prep side of thing was really obvious. It was definitely you're on your own, and there was no posing groups. There was no women just kind of just did your own thing. You would just stand up, you just turn up on comp day and stand on the stage, and it wasn't a very nice atmosphere. I didn't like it. I didn't like that it felt like a competition between them, because bodybuilding is just literally a competition between yourself and you up there. So that is also part of my big why with my business, is that I love bringing women together, and we can grow together and lift each other up and still support each other and watch each other grow, because I've come from that space of being very solo and doing all the comp preps with no support. So yeah, I've kind of learned that, and I want to change it. And I think over the last 10 years it's happened, and it's
Mm.
happening.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that too. Like, what you mentioned about it. Yeah, it's a solo sport, but also like it doesn't need to be, right? I being not bodybuilder or anything, but a runner, like there are similarities in the sense that running is a solo sport. You have to train by yourself and you're competing with yourself and yada yada yada. But like I'm part of a squad, I train with a team, and I think too, like that is a bit new in the running space. And I can imagine, like we've had bodybuilders on the show before. It's similar, it sounds like, in that space too. Like, yes, you have to do it alone, but like having a support system does also take it to a next level sometimes as well. What back then when you were kind of going through the space, you were saying that you were going through self-discovery, you learned a lot about yourself. Where do you think things kind of shifted? You started competing. Where do you think your mindset started to shift, in the sense of you're not going for weight loss anymore, or the treadmill, or whatever? You're going more for being strong and being on stage. What was your mindset like when you were starting to compete versus when you were first starting the gym?
Oh, complete change around. And I think I never thought of myself as a sporty person or a competitive person. The first year of when I did stand on stage for the first year, it was very different. I still had that mindset of like you just had to get like leaner and leaner and leaner and leaner. And then my physique showed that, and I looked terrible. And so the next year, I that's probably when it really changed for me, was where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a bit competitive with myself here. I want to go back up on stage and just blow them away. And so I gave myself the time over that 12 months to really put the work in. And the whole shift in the mindset happened then, I think, in that year, the year after I competed, where I was like, okay, I got to lock in. And then it's just really motivating. I think, it's not even about the end result of the stage. It never is. It's really, as cliche as it sounds, the journey of comp prep. You learn so much about yourself, and you get so strong and so, determined. And my logo was determination, discipline, dedication. Three things that I never knew about myself prior to competing or prior to prepping. I would never have described myself as those three things. In fact, I didn't even know myself at all, at all. So I was in a job that didn't suit me at all, and I was doing the safe stuff, the government job. Had the three kids, and people would ask me, "Oh, tell me about yourself," and I'm like, "I'm a mum," and I'd stop. I didn't know anything else about myself. So yeah, I think like the journey of prepping, not even the stage part, is so powerful. And I think that's what's addictive about this sport, is how much you learn and the boundaries that you put in place in comp prep, and then you bring that into your real life. So there's dedication, discipline, determination. It's not just about the sport. You can literally apply it to literally anything in your life and succeed. So yeah, I feel comp prep's an incredible thing. It's very different. It's like no other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely like to dive into that, because that's why I like having people like you, from the bodybuilding space in here, coaching and all of that, because that's another thing that I find similar, that dedication. Your comp prep is quite specific, and it is very taxing, I think, in a way, mentally, physically as well. And same thing, for me, if I'm training for a marathon, like I think a question that I get asked a lot is like, oh, well, do you need to do this? Or like, do you need to do that? Or, why are you training 2 times a day? Or why are you doing this and that? Or why aren't you coming out with me, on Saturday for dinner, or whatever, right? And I think that's where people might not understand, when you're working towards yourself, maybe being on stage, or, whatever your goal is. Yeah, you might need to make some sacrifices. Did you find How did you find that, your first competition? Like, were you very focused on that end result and you just said no to everything else? Or what was that balance for you like when it came to that first competition
Oh,
prep?
it's definitely evolved over the years for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And my first prep, it was like egg whites every day and chicken, and I was like hating life because I hated the food because I thought it's just what you had to do. And so yeah, I was like quite focused, and it's hard. I think for me, my savior in all of this is the fact that I have my 3 children, and it brought me back to reality. So the comp prep in the first year was just really just trying to overcome the social anxiety side of it. To be honest, I used to shake like a leaf on stage. I wouldn't walk around in a bikini at the pool. So it was the first comp was really just about pushing my boundaries and my comfort zone. I didn't even think I'd be competitive. It had nothing to do with the end result. It was really just about, probably at that stage, just a bucket list thing. Tick the box, get on stage and say, "Oh my God, Mum did that! Like she stood on stage. That's such so much courage." So that's what the first year was, and then the competitive side of me came through. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such an interesting thing because like you probably learn a lot from even that first comp, and then, you evolve that second and third and whatnot. When it came to pressures, did you feel like there were any pressures, or was it like self pressure? Where did that kind of go for you?
Yeah, you pulled every which way
Okay.
in comp prep,
Yeah.
definitely. And as I always say, if you're going to do really well at something, it's an unbalanced life. You have to, for that little moment in time, be unbalanced to succeed really well, really well. If you just want to kind of get up there and just see how you go, then you can be more balanced and you might not go as well. But so yes, if you are going to do well in comp prep and in competing, then it's an unbalanced life during that stage, and you pulled every which way. If you've got kids, mum guilt is horrendous. And then it's just about recovery after, to be honest. You just know that it's such a short amount of time in your life, but each time that you compete, like I'm on the 10th year now, I've learned a really good way on learning how to do that in a balanced state, more balanced. It's not, I wouldn't say it's completely balanced, but it'll be those things of, if the kids want to go out for ice cream, well, I won't be having ice cream with them. And that sounds very minimal, but that's the mum guilt then blows up inside internally. So yeah, it is hard. There's pressures. I've never really, I think like the state shows in IFBB that I'm with now, there was pressure for me to continue to win those shows. I won like 3 in a row, so there was the internal pressure on that, and then to try and get the pro card. But the previous years with the other federations with pro cards, there was no real pressure. I didn't put myself. I just wanted to do my best and know that I could stand on stage, and there was nothing I could have done that would have changed the result. Like it's a subjective sport, we've got to remember. So if I could at least stand up there and go, yeah, it's up to the judges because I have given 110%. So the pressure wasn't too bad back then, but it's just ever growing as high the more you climb, I think.
Yeah. For the person listening right now, if they are maybe aspiring to get started in the sport, or even have no idea what the sport is, but want to know a little bit more, maybe they have family members or whatever. When it comes to prep, generally speaking, how long is it? What do you think it looks like? Can you give us and dive a little bit deeper into the world of prep for a competition?
Well, I think it's very different between a first time competitor and someone who's
Mm,
done it before.
right. Okay.
Yeah, very much so. So, and I turn a lot of people off of bodybuilding before I would say do it because it's such a challenging sport, but you've really got to have your head together. You've got to also expect a lot of fallout post comp if you haven't done the work internally. So I say it's a mindset sport. The rest comes with it. It really is. So you've got to be right up here to even entertain the fact of standing on a stage. It's as a first time competitor, I like to look at my girls around about the 20-week mark of when we start to maybe cut, but that is so dependent on each person, each physique and metabolism of muscle density. If they've got the muscle there, if we need to grow more, how competitive they're looking at being. But at some point you have to pull the trigger on it because with bodybuilding, you're never good enough, which is a good thing. Like we like it. We don't see it as a bad thing. It's motivating that you can never really be good enough. So at some point you've got to go, okay, I'm going to prep now, because otherwise you're just continually chasing gains and nothing comes of it. Yeah.
It must be like nice though. I don't know if nice is the word, but like to have a goal and for someone to focus on something versus like, just going into the gym and doing the same thing. Like I think sometimes that can get a bit boring and like, that might be where somebody succeeds a little bit more, having a plan versus just kind of going in, doing it half-ass really, and then stepping on stage. Like
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
it probably makes more sense for someone to be a bit more structured in that way,
Yeah.
really.
And you have to, in terms of even the training and the gains, have to make progressive overloads. So everything has to be programmed. Everything has to be structured in regard to that, because you could float along all day and not make any, change in the gym. You might get a pump, but you're not actually growing muscle. And then the nutrition side of that comes into play as well. You've got to support that growth and the rest and the recovery. So it's an all over thing. It's it's an all over approach to bodybuilding. And I think some people like short-term goals, some like the longer-term goals. If it's a really long-term goal, we like to put little goals in place in between just to keep that motivation. And I think having a real clear criteria for each division is also very motivating, because you go in the gym and you're not just training legs, you're training quads or hamstrings or calves, or it's all very like muscle dependent, so that you're really focused on what the judges are requiring. So it's not your body anymore, it's what the judges want.
Right. I'm interested to get your take because I've had a few friends on the show that have also competed and whatnot, and they've spoken about the kind of aftermath of stepping on stage. What was that like for you? Maybe that first prep versus, now, like what was the aftermath? And because I think to me, when I compete, let's say a run event or a race, like there is kind of like an after, like, oh, I'm a bit depressed because now what's next? Or
Mm.
like I put all this work in and now I'm starting to, eat more or like get out of routine. And like it does mess with your mind a little bit more. And you mentioned that before, like you need to go into it with a good mindset really and know what you're in for. But what was that like, sorry, for you basically?
Oh yeah, post-comp blues exist. They do. And I think it never used to get talked about as much as it gets talked about now. Thank God. I was really big on making sure everyone knows about a reverse diet, reverse dieting, and also just accepting your body post-comp, because when you're in it, you think you can maintain it, and you think you're all that because you're shredded and you're better than everyone else, and you get a bit of a chip on your shoulder thinking you're good, and then post-comp everything can fall apart if you're not aware. All right, so being aware is the first step. My first prep, yeah, it was challenging, especially coming from my background. I think with the image, the eating disorder image. So you always say once you've stood on stage that lean, you'll never be that lean ever again in your mind, ever, even though you might be compared to the whole population. So it's you've got to get your head around it, and accept that your body at every level. And I think back then, and I still see it today. Post comp, when it was this almost like this not belief, but an idea that post comp you've got to gorge on all the food that you missed out on. So the first comp for me, I ordered like a pizza, fish and chips, like burgers, you name it. I had lollies, and it was all laid out on my floor. I was sitting there by myself in my house with all this food, thinking that's kind of what I had to do. And I ate it, and I felt so sick. And people can get really unwell from doing that. And then the weeks after after competing is the danger part, because people will eat different foods. They'll put on some fluid on their body. They would look different, very different from stage, and then they get stuck in the cycle of trying to get it off, and they think it's body fat. And that's when we talk about, I think with bodybuilding can get a bad rap, but it's not bodybuilding's fault. It's the work that you haven't done on yourself prior to accepting that these things can happen if you don't put plans in place post-comp. So if you're going to compete, have a goal already before you stand on the stage about what you're going to do the next day and what's your next goalpost. So you don't want to be coming off a stage not without a plan of some sort of a strength-based plan, or I don't know, something that's going to fuel your body a bit better.
Right. And that like that food example that you made is quite interesting because like, I think that's too maybe where sometimes it gets a bad rep, for example, because like it is also difficult, I think, to go into something and differentiate, good foods versus bad foods and all of that. Like if you're stepping off stage, I can only imagine, you having that lineup of foods and quote unquote bad foods in front of you. Like it's because I think we view those things as such during something. And yeah, of course you can't have it during prep, but I can only imagine that it kind of messes with your mind a little bit because you look at food a little bit differently. And I think every sport is pretty much the same thing, you know, like if you're an athlete in footy or running or whatever, like you have to look at food a little bit differently. And, you know, when you're prepping for finals or you're prepping for whatever it might be, like, yes, you might not be looking at certain things. And then, like you were saying, when you have post comp, like you lay it out in front of you and you're like, it's just a weird way of thinking. But
Mm.
I think it's like only something that someone like yourself or people that compete really understands really is that view of looking food differently. For you, how did you like what did it teach you about food, about training? Like what has competition taught you about that kind of stuff in that world?
Yeah, early on, in fact, when I started to like research the nutrition side of it, it wasn't, it wasn't a piece of chicken on my plate anymore. It was protein, and I would see like the potatoes. It's not potatoes; it's carbohydrates.
Right.
So I would start to see what the food could do for me, and that was a real change for me. Um, in probably in the first half of my time of competing, I ate quite clean. And then I realized I wasn't really enjoying it because I'm a massive sweet tooth. So now my preps, I eat chocolate every day, I eat lollies every day. I just make sure it counts into my macros and calories.
Yeah.
So I don't like food fear, and because I've come from it, and I think it could be very dangerous. And there's ways, at the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out. Yes, there's more nutrient dense foods, of course, but if you're not enjoying it or if it's creating a problem for you, then it's a problem. So we'll include those foods within your prep so that it is more balanced. Yeah.
Right.
So I always get super lean, and I'm not a clean eater.
Yeah. And that's like, I think that's so important because like you got to have fun with it as well, right? Like I can imagine you, especially probably a few weeks leading out or whatever, like when you're at your peak, it's probably a bit miserable when it comes to like, maybe the calories you're eating or like the work that you're putting in or whatever. So if you're also going home and you're having things that bore you
Yeah.
really, like it's just another thing that can like tip things
Yeah.
over the edge for some people potentially.
Oh, for sure. It's like with anything, we'll only stick with it if we enjoy it. And that's why I've been in this for so long, because I actually enjoy the prep. I enjoy the training. So it doesn't have to, I don't like when people say it's a grind, like this is a privilege.
Yeah.
It's such a privilege to be able to do what we're doing, and just make it as enjoyable for you as possible. And there's plenty of diet hacks out there where you can still have your sweets and do all the things, I think that's really, really important. Yeah.
What are some misconceptions do you think about the bodybuilding space or even just prep in general for a competition? What do you think is out there that you think, shouldn't be, or just a misconception that you've heard?
Oh, so many.
Yeah, I imagine.
So many. And it's frustrating. But it's also one of these, you can't change people's opinion, I find. Unless you're doing it and you're in it. But the biggest problem for me is when people think that it's about vanity, and they think it's about, everyone's into themselves. They just don't understand that the end result is the thing on the stage, whatever. But the empowerment side of things, that's what they miss out of it. You might take your gym selfies, and it's like other people just don't understand that it's about like, well, I've achieved something today. I've gone to the gym and I'm proud of my body. It's okay to be proud of your body. I think everyone's this tall poppy syndrome. Everyone wants to cut each other down, and it's like this is embrace and cheer people on. I think in that bodybuilding and some of the stuff that we might do highlights other people's insecurities as well. I don't know, it's an Australian thing, but we can't be too proud of our body, but it's also like, why not? Yeah, so I think it highlights a lot of people's insecurities, and there's a lot of misconception out there. Yeah.
I think it's also one of those things too where I think if somebody had a conversation with somebody like yourself or somebody in the gym who, might be competing or, might be super muscular or I think to a lot of people that might be intimidating as well. If you're not in that world or, like I go to a gym around the corner that there's a lot of people that compete there. And I can imagine for some people it can be intimidating, but I think if you actually go up and you talk to one of those people, like it's not as intimidating as, or they're not as intimidating as, and like, again, we've had other people on the show and like what they've said is like, even if you're, looking in the corner of your eye or somebody and they have like, a face that's just blank or whatever, they're probably just so focused on what they're doing or in pain or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. Like, I think too, it's like you were saying, it maybe can come from an insecurity, but I think it also can be a bit frightening for some people, I can
Oh,
imagine. But
absolutely.
but
Yeah. I
again,
mean,
like I think that's just one thing that we're limited on. Like if we go into a situation a little bit more optimistic or accepting or whatever it might be, this is anything in life. Um, like you will learn that like a lot of people are actually pretty like okay, in the
oh,
space,
for sure.
really.
Everyone's in their own heads.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm pro athlete, but I'll go into a gym with social anxiety in the gym, and I'll have my hat low. So I might look intimidating because I might have some muscles and my hat's low, and my headphones are on, but I'm in my own head, and I figure everyone else is also in their own head. And I always say like the gym is therapy. We're all in there, and we're all working through our own shit. So, if we're in our head or we're very like focused, that's our time to train and that's our time to listen to our music. And I train through emotion. So yes, I probably got like the resting bitch face and I'm probably quite intimidating on the outside. But I do even have people then meet me outside of that and they're like, oh wow, you're actually really nice. I'm like, yes. It's just that when I'm in the gym, it's not my time to socialize. I'm there for a job and I get it done and I leave. But I do understand that it's quite intimidating. Yeah, because I feel it myself as well when I look around the gym. Yeah.
It's also, I think, one of the rare places in this world, really, where everybody in the gym has a different background, everybody has a different experience, and everybody is in there for a different reason, right? And that reason at the end of the day, I think, is a goal. So, like, I feel like the gym is probably one space where judgment is at its lowest, or it should be at its lowest, because everybody there, I mean, the first step is to step into a gym, really. And then from there, like you're already bettering yourself. So I think like again, like in my experience, the people that compete, for example, they're like probably the least amount to judge other people,
Yeah.
really, when it comes to like, intimidation, or when it comes to, just being in the gym in general, really.
Oh,
'Cause-
I agree. I
yeah.
think I think bodybuilders or I think have overcome a lot to even be at that stage that they're doing, and they get it. They get that
Yeah.
mindset. They get they probably come from a background where it has been negative with their body. A lot of people have in bodybuilding, so they've overcome a lot of those things. So yeah, and also like I said before, like we're just so focused on what we are doing. We don't have time to judge anyone else. And if I see someone in there, I'm like, good on you. Like, how good is it, especially women? How good is it to see women in the gym? Like, it's amazing. I love it. So, yeah.
All right, I want to talk to you about sunglasses made for runners by runners. That's why I wear Your Run sunglasses. Lightweight, zero bounce, and they stay locked in even when you are sweating through speed sessions, long runs, out in the sun, whatever it might be. They are stylish enough for daily wear, durable enough for race day, and just the perfect combo. Honestly, I love brands that get the sport, get the grind, and support the running community, not just the podium finishers. If you're serious about your run gear and want shades that perform as hard as you, go check out Your Run. Use my code Jordan10 to save some money and get yourself some stylish sunnies that actually perform and look good. Run smart, stay protected, look good doing it with Your Run sunnies. At what point during this whole journey did you realize that you wanted this to be your path? Did you realize that you wanted a career out of this, that you wanted to go professionally? What part of this experience kind of was there like a determining experience, or when did
Yeah.
that start from you?
Yeah, kind of. So my background is I was a police officer.
Okay.
So for 15 to 17 years, and I competed and got the whole questions. What are you doing? All of that, all the judgment and all of those things, and people were like thinking whatever about me. But then over time, over the next year, people are then saying, "How do you do it? Like, how do you look like that? Tell me your nutrition. What do you train?" And I'm like, okay, so I was helping people out. Still in the job, just helping people out with meal plans. I was writing them up in the, and training programs. And I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. I could probably make this like a job. So then, yeah, I got my certification, and I literally walked out the door and never went back. Back in the day when they allowed 5 years of a career break, so I had a safety net there that I could go back, which helped. And in that time, I kept competing myself, and grew my client base of lifestyle clients as well as comp clients, and the posing side of things kind of took off. And so obviously posing coach as well. So yeah, and I remember 5 years later they were knocking at my door going, Emma, you going to come back? And I had my pen on the paper ready to sign. I was like, all the work and all the things I know about myself, and I also felt like I owed it to a lot of women as well, that if I went back, it would have destroyed my soul. And so I took the challenge. I went, okay, I'm not going to go back. And I just said, no, couldn't sign it.
There you go.
Yeah, and then you've got no option. It was like I was all in.
Yeah.
So I had to work.
Yeah. And you were saying a little bit earlier that, when you first started, there was a lack of community, really. It sounds like you've built your own community and a community for other people as well. What is community like in the sport, and how does it help? Like, because again, if we're talking to right now, maybe to somebody who has a family member in the space, or maybe somebody who is just starting the space, I think it is still very, I think a lot of people still think that it is an individual sport, right? And yes, it is individual. You need to be strong internally and externally, I guess as well. But like, I think too, community and having your team around you is super important, and it makes or breaks. So where through the journey should somebody start with maybe a team or a coach or whatever? What's your experience like that with?
Straight away.
Okay. Right.
Straight away. As soon as you try to get into the group sessions, like my group posing classes, before we start anything, we sit in a circle and we go around about a win for the day or a challenge of win of the week or a challenge of the week. And that one girl who thinks she's alone in her thoughts, maybe she's had a binge, it happens, whatever, life. She's had an emotional day, she's had a binge, she's sat all week thinking that she's the only one and she's failing. She brings it up in class, 4 other girls go, oh my God, me too. And we bond straight away. You're not alone. This is normal. You don't have to be perfect. Shit's going to happen. Life happens. So the group sessions are everything. I thrive in those. I love them. Every season I just have the most amazing women come to me. And the feeling in the room is electric at the end of it, because they walk through the room at the beginning and they're trembling mess. Some people don't show up because they're so nervous and social anxiety. They think about what it's going to be. And by the end of the season, they are all over it. And my girls shine on stage because they're just so full of their own confidence, and they know they've got it. Yeah. And it's about pushing those boundaries. And so as soon as you're thinking of competing, get involved with the sport, like get involved in the women. I only coach women. The group sessions are really important. And then from my group sessions, I've had girls who have now got their best friends and their flatmates, and they're like friends for life out of it. So I think it's really important. Training partners, Yeah.
Now, of course, posing is quite important in the space, and it probably makes or breaks a lot of the time as well. Where does somebody learn all of that, and because I can imagine that it is quite complex, and that's why you have your classes, really, to help people learn that space. But if somebody might not be ready quite yet to maybe join a group space or whatever, where do people go for that, and how do people, I guess, practice in the right way?
Or come to me. So it's one-on-one. I've done most of my work is one-on-one sessions in my studio, and I have girls that have just started thinking about competing, and they're not going to stand on stage for a year and a half even, and we get the basics down and we make it work for their physique. So posing is so specific with the individual athlete. So one small little foot placement can change everything, or waist, or because everybody is different, literally. So posing is everything. There's nothing worse for me to see a girl on stage who has the best physique and she's not showing it to her best ability. You need to get into the one-on-one straight away, get that, and then whatever we do in class, we record it all, you take it away, and it's your homework. Come back to me next week and we improve from there.
Yeah. When did the studio come to be? So when did you open that? When did you take it? Like, was it around the same time that you were saying that you stopped the 5 years of police work, or when did that all come to be, and how did that kind of come to start?
Yeah, so I started off doing it out of Good Life gyms.
Okay.
Don't tell them.
Yeah.
For like $50.
Yeah.
I just like walk in there and like sneak people in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized how much I loved it and like how much it was kind of growing because no one, there was no posing coaches really back then in Adelaide. So I was thriving in that. It's like I just love it so much. And so I started off in Good Life gyms and then it progressed to I had a studio on Anzac Highway. And that's where I started the group sessions. And then from there, I ended up at another gym, which I used to PT out of, which is just it was like a turf, a grass turf. So we're like, falling over in our heels. I was like, we've got to do better than this. And then I was just lucky enough to find my studio space at Summerton Park. And I've been there for a good, I think, 6 or so years now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to, let's say, getting on stage and getting over the fear, maybe, because you spoke of that as well, like you used to shake and everything. How did you get over that and how did you get over the nerves? Was it just something that you had to like go on stage again and again, or was there anything behind the scenes that you had to work on?
Definitely behind the scenes. Okay. Yeah, so it took me a long time. Like I said, I was like a trembling mess and I'd be on there and I'd be trying to hold my pose. I could feel myself shaking and if you feel yourself, you can see it on stage. Everything is on show. And, the more you think about it, the worse it got. So I used to, the very first couple of times, first few years, I used to fly to Melbourne and compete there because the challenge for me was doing it in front of people I knew here in Adelaide. So I would fly to Melbourne, get my nerves out, do well, get my confidence and come back to Adelaide and be like, okay, so if my grandma sees me on stage, it's okay now. But I still had the nerves behind me. It was still a problem. And the only time that I realised I had to do something about it was I'd won the first IFBB Pro show. It was IFBB Amateur show in Adelaide. And because I'd won the Open, I could now no longer do the easier classes first to get my nerves out. Okay. And I was like, shit, I got to get on top of my nerves because once you won the Open, you can only come on stage once for Open again. So the following year, I was like, well, what am I going to do? And then I kind of discovered visualization. And that changed everything. And I teach that to my girls about visualizing what it's like on stage. Even if you haven't been on stage, you've got enough videos out there, enough photos up there of other people to imagine yourself up on stage, and start to visualize. And so that's what I did. What the floor felt like, what the tan felt like on my skin, what the heat was like, the fact that I could look out and see the judge's eyes. Because when you visualize so well with such minute detail as that, your body and your mind believes it's already happened. So the next time I stood out on stage, no nerves. No nerves at all.
And what does confidence mean to you? Because you spoke about, gaining confidence over the years and coming into yourself and finding yourself. What do you think confidence means to you now after having done all of this work, basically?
Yeah, I think it's ever growing. I think, I'm not sitting here saying there's not moments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think it's letting go of trying to change people's opinions of you. I think that's what it is. You just can't change it. So once you do that, you just do you.
Yeah.
And then your people will come and you'll feel safer in that. And it's easier, if you know that not everyone's going to love you, that's okay too. I think that for me has been a big change for me. And just if you love it, you'll come. If not, that's cool too. I'm not going to try and fight it. It's just free flow.
Yeah. It's quite freeing as well because, you spoke to that tall poppy syndrome and whatever. And being someone, I'm from North America, Canada specifically, and things in Vancouver where I'm from when it comes to, let's say, social media or when it comes to putting yourself out there is a lot different than where it is in Adelaide right now. I think Adelaide is great. It's growing and tall poppy syndrome is becoming less of an issue. It's still a massive issue, but I come from a place where Vancouver's like the LA of Canada. The rest of Canada makes fun of us because we're like all high up on ourselves. But I think it's just like that confidence really. Like a lot of people don't care putting themselves out there because everybody else is doing it as well. So
for sure.
You just don't bat an eye.
You got to lead the way. Someone has to lead the way. I always say I'm cringe, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I can lead the way and do it for someone else, because it's all it takes is one person to show their confidence, and it's confidence, not arrogance. Do you not like arrogance? There's a very big difference. And so it just takes one or two to do it, and everyone else follows the trend, and then and realize it's okay to do so.
Yeah, and I loved what you said. Like it's you just kind of at the end of the day not have to care at the end of the day, because like you can't change other people's opinion. And you know, like this podcast, for example, it's been going on for 6 years now, nearly 6 years, and like I could have stopped it the last 6 years because of, you know, this comment or that comment or whatever. But like you just kind of have to not care at the end of the day, otherwise like you're not going to be, again, leading by example. Or maybe that one person that is listening, like, you know, like it's just one of those things where like it is so freeing sometimes not to care. And I think that's easier said than done, because even like in this day and age, like, yeah, I go through times and periods where I'm still like, oh shoot, like should I be doing this or whatever. Like I think we all get through that
Mm.
rut, but like you kind of have to. And I can imagine for you and your sport, like you probably have to get out of that quite quickly. Otherwise, it can be detrimental to your goals as well. And I think that's like for a lot of places in life, really. When it comes to coaching, what have you learned about yourself and prep? Because, like, when you coach others, I think you learn a lot about, you know, how to do things, and you learn a lot about yourself and leadership and everything. What have you learned about, and how do you go into your own preps now, you know, since you've been starting to coach other people, really?
Oh, I think I feel like I'm a little unique in that
Mm,
I've only really ever had one coach
okay.
that I used, and we got a result. It was great. But I like to use myself as a bit of a a guinea
Okay.
pig,
Yeah.
and I've been like that from the start. I find the whole comp prep very fascinating.
Okay.
So I like to throw things at myself in my prep to see what I respond like. Because every athlete I have is very unique and different. So, you know, the first prep, you never really know how an athlete's going to respond. So, you can hopefully get them lean enough to then start doing some trials for peak weeks and things like that. And there's different methods, obviously, that we can try for that. But yeah, you learn a lot about each individual athlete each time. And for me, I know now, you know, that my last prep, I was like, tried to do it differently. I thought, okay, let's give yourself a long prep. And I know for myself, I can't do long preps because I get ready in 8 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a like it's like if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and I do it hard, and I go fast, and it's done. So my prep was way too long last year
Yeah.
because I gave myself like 20 weeks. So I was ready in 8, and I was like, okay, like, well, let's go compete. So then I just competed early. But you know, not that's an experienced athlete. You know, I wouldn't obviously take that avenue for someone that's not been doing it for as long as I have, or doesn't stay as lean as I do in my off season. Because I'm quite happy to stay lean in my off season because my goals are different.
I think that's such a key thing that you mentioned as well. Like, you know, you have made those decisions and you've learned those things because you're an experienced athlete,
Mm.
right? Like I just the other day actually I got asked like, "Oh, I'm training for my first marathon. What's the kilometers that I should be doing? What are you doing? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, first of all, I'm not a coach, so I'm not going to give you anything. But second of all, like what I'm doing, I've done like 14 marathons in my life. Like I'm an experienced runner, and what I'm doing is not, you know, cookie cutter what somebody else should be
Mm.
doing, because like again, like I can train or I can go for a run twice a day because I've been training for like since I was a kid really in this sport. Like
Mm.
it's very different an experienced athlete versus not. And especially if you're maybe new to the sport,
Mm.
or not even necessarily new to the sport, maybe just new to competing, like it probably looks a lot different. And the same thing for running. Like, yeah, running, everybody can run and anybody can run, anybody can go to the gym and build muscle. But I think too, like you need to be in a different mindset to like go race, for example, or to step onto stage. So
Mm.
I love that point that like, you know, you're an experienced athlete. So like it probably looks a little bit different from you for what you would recommend to,
Oh,
you know, maybe somebody who comes who's
100%. Do
new.
what I do.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when people contact me and they're like, Emma, what are your calories and your macros? Let
Yeah.
me know. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to, like, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's literally irrelevant
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
So, and it's dangerous to do that, to give out your macros and your calories to anyone, because you don't want anyone replicating what you're doing,
Yeah.
because there's just so many variables, and you're a different human, so you can't. And yes, absolutely. You know, there's, like I said, like I have different goals for my off season. I'm happy to stay leaner because I don't need to put more muscle on, so I can do an 8 week prep. You know, and other people, they shouldn't, and they,
Yeah.
you know, do take a slower approach. We try and maintain the muscle and yeah, do it the right way.
You talked about going to something with the right mentality and needing to when you step onto stage. What does that look like behind the scenes, do you think, for somebody to gain that clear mental space to step onto stage? Like, yeah, visualization is great, and I assume that's, quite an important step, but just for somebody to maybe go into something with the best chance that they can, really, what do you think behind the scenes they need to be really focusing on?
I always say, like, take away any plan Bs.
Okay.
You've
Yeah.
only got one plan, just do it. So
Yeah.
if you remove choice,
Yeah.
then you remove a lot of like doubt, and you remove a lot of options to not do well. So you just follow the plan, do the thing. It's very clear cut, very black and white. I become very emotionless in prep for my own physique. I always say, like, your body's not yours anymore. So I am attached emotionally to my physique. It's not mine. It's the judges. Judge me as you will. They don't care about my story. They don't care where I've come from. All they see is what they see. And I think that has allowed me to not be attached to outcomes, and just bring my best. Yeah.
And how does that help the post-event blues as well? Because I can imagine, like, if you look, this is a story that I've heard as well, stepping on stage and then looking at pictures and being like, oh, like, I looked so good on stage or whatever, but not realizing that that's maybe not something you can hold year round, really. Like, I can imagine that's quite good for that mental space there.
Yeah, you got to be really careful. And that, yeah, comes down to pre-prep, prep what you're doing. Right? The girls that come to me and they are higher body fat percent, but they're at that stage where they've gone, I love myself so much that I reckon I could actually stand on stage. So I say, remember who you were before you started the prep, because like I said, you'll never be as lean again as that in your mind. And also I think post-comp, and this is the way that I run it for myself and I coach my girls is, yep, during prep, during comp, on the stage, the body is the judges, and then post that, you got to bring back your femininity. You got to bring back the emotional attachment to your body of what it can do for you, what it, and soften a little, because you're very much in your masculine. I feel in comp prep, you have to. It's like get it done in your masculine, and it's important to then move out of that post comp. And I move out very fast, straight into my feminine again. My body is mine again. I love how it looks. I love what it can do for me. I love the strength that it can build, and it's looking after me daily. So I think it's really important to make sure that you come back to that and stop treating yourself like a workhorse post-comp. Yeah.
How do you avoid burnout when it comes to training, when it comes to even work in general? How do you avoid burnout and things getting too repetitive, or things maybe spiraling out of control? Is there strategies that you have personally, or is that something you've experienced in the past?
I've experienced burnout for sure. Not with comp prep so much. You put things in place, like again, the program, you put your rest periods in, you put your deloads in and all of that, you put your refeeds in. So that should be taken care of if you're doing it right. But for me, workload, that I have a habit of burning out twice a year, because I give so much emotionally to my clients as well. I'm so invested.
Probably
So,
have to.
oh, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about it. So
Yeah.
I can't not be. It's how I like to run it. I like to give my all. But, seeing them on stage is like me up there. So I feel like I'm doing the preps with them. So post comp, twice a year, I usually fall out pretty hard.
Okay.
But now I expect it and I know it's going to happen. I kind of just accepted it.
Yeah.
I'd rather give my all than hold back and just take the fact that it's going to be a week. I'm going to need a week post-comp, guys. Like, I'm falling out. And I usually, now I predict it. So I put my week in post-comp to just go away with the kids or, do something for myself and just, step away a little bit.
What has bodybuilding in this world taught you about yourself? What do you think?
Everything. I love who I've become with bodybuilding. I've seen a lot of people fall away. I've had relationships break down. I've had friendships leave, and that's all okay. It's it's not okay, but it's you learn from it. Everything is a lesson. Everything. And bodybuilding, not even bodybuilding, just comp prep, living in this lifestyle. It's just the lifestyle. It exposes a lot. Exposes a lot of other people's issues and your own. I've just become, I can tell you about myself now. Whereas, like I said before, I couldn't tell you anything other than the fact that I was a mum and I was a cop. I didn't know anything about myself. And now I could probably sit here and just say, yeah, I'm dedicated. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. So I love that I can do that now. Like I feel more at peace now than ever.
All right, team. Quick shout out to today's sponsor because they've genuinely been a game changer for me personally, and that is U Foods. So here's the thing, no matter what your goals are, fat loss, muscle building, training for something big, or honestly just trying to survive a busy week, U Foods has meals that actually taste amazing. And I'm not talking about those sad frozen meals that taste like fake ingredients and disappoint you every single time. These meals taste fresh, they taste real, and they don't feel like you're on a meal plan at all. I literally look forward to them. But the real reason that I'm obsessed personally is time. My time is everything, and saving literally 3 to 5 hours a week from grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning the kitchen, that honestly is priceless to me. Those hours go back into my training, they go back into this podcast, into the other podcasts that I produce, and just my sanity as well. So, if you've been thinking about giving pre made meals a go, or you just want to make your life so much easier, use my link in the show notes and you'll get a free box of meals to try out. Seriously, try it. If you're anything like me, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. What does resilience mean to you? Because I think like just listening to this past hour, like I think a key word that pops up for me is resilient. You have to be resilient in the sport. You have to be resilient to, show up every day. For you, what have you learned about resilience through this whole experience?
I think to just remain knowing that this is a privilege. This isn't a grind. Like resilience comes from suffering. This isn't. Yeah, it's hard. Of course, it's hard physically, but it's also we thrive in the hard. Yeah, so I don't see it as a victim thing. I don't see it as resilience. It's not a grind. I absolutely love it, and if you love it, you'll do it. And you just do the thing. Yeah.
When it comes to managing, let's say, work, managing family, managing that, if you have somebody that you're coaching and, they're in a 20-week block or whatever, again, everybody's individual in their circumstances and whatnot, but it can be hard, putting in like X amount of hours on top of, let's say, a full-time job or on top of, having a family or whatever it might be. I always tell people myself, like, yes, I train like, sometimes 18, 20 hours a week or whatnot, but like, I can never give advice to somebody who has, a family or who has X, Y, and Z because I'm a 30-year-old male by myself at home. Like I don't have that responsibility. I can totally understand that. But like, if somebody comes to you and they have like, a full-time job and they say, oh, I'm struggling fitting this in, really, is there any strategies or anything that you help with in that regard?
Yeah, I think you really realize what your priorities are in comp prep as well. And as a coach, I'm like hard on my girls, but there has to be that side of compassion as well because I get it. Like if you've got family, that always should come first. But priorities, you learn what you can let go and what you have to push into. So if someone tells me they got no time, and I know what I've achieved with no time. I kind of don't believe them. I'm like, okay, watch your Netflix series that you're watching at the moment. And then they'll tell me, I'm like, right, well, there's your cardio time on the stepper. Like you just got to prioritize, like get rid of the Netflix, get off the couch and do the thing if this is important. So,
I love that because like that's the one thing that I get asked all the time. How do you have the time, Jordan, with like all of this other things that you're doing? How do you add that? And like again, I think yes, we don't have the same 24 hours, but we also do at the same time. Like your priorities are key, really. Like I think too, for me personally, something that I've like heard and that I really like is maybe announcing your goals to your friends and your family, because I think too that's something that like if we're just holding things in, then yeah, people are not understanding of why you're saying, oh, I can't come out to dinner like every weekend, or I can't do this or that. Like if you're just saying no, but you're not explaining why, like yes, no is a full sentence. You don't really sometimes need to give a reason why. But I think for your friends and your family, like instead of isolating people, that's a strategy that I've used is okay, I have a race coming up in July, you know, May, June is going to be quite hectic. Like I'm probably going to be AWOL for a
Yeah.
lot of that month. And I think like your key group and your key network will 100% understand that, you know, you are dedicated and you have this end goal. And, you know, like after July, like set plans or
Repair mode.
whatever. Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
it
And
is. It is. It's like yeah, I think you just need to um keep them aware and keep them part of the plan so they don't feel excluded because it is, you're just doing your thing day in day out and just let them know that it's important to you. And if you're important to them, they'll understand that and they'll wait.
And where are you currently with your path? What is next when it comes to maybe competing, coaching, and what kind of plans are you striving towards right now?
Oh, well, I guess I've unofficially retired, but I haven't really like announced it, but I think I'm done. Pretty sure I'm done. Last year, I hit hard in America and Japan, and like well, Japan was the biggest show I've ever been in, Masters Olympia, and I've come to a realization. I was like, see how it goes, and I really lost my passion on stage, and I used to love the stage, but I found that I started to kind of try and comply with exactly what they wanted, and it was just, I don't know, killing a bit of my soul. So I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it anymore, and I get so much out of my clients. So me standing on stage, the aspect of the fact that pro athletes in Australia have to travel overseas to compete as well is really hard. So I think I'm done, and I'm really at peace with that. I was worried about letting it go, but I feel really, really at peace with it and happy knowing that I can still be relevant without having to stand on a stage and compete. And I get so much out of my clients. So, them up there is me up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that self-awareness, I think, is key, really. Like being aware that you're ready to step aside, because like that's the first step. And I think that makes whatever blow you think is coming a little bit less of a blow, really. Like, and like you were saying, like you still have the passion and you have the passion of helping others, like still being in the space is probably key as well. So that's amazing. When it comes to the last hour for the person listening, what is one key takeaway you want to leave with them, do you think?
Well, if there's women watching or listening, um, is I guess what I would tell myself, they say about the younger child, is just to let go of opinion, do your thing, live hard and large, and just trust yourself and have courage to do so. I think, yeah.
Love that. And where can people find you? Where can people work with you? Maybe put that in and I'll add it to the show note for you listening and you can kind of reach out to Emma there.
Yep, or I'm big on my lifestyle clients as well. So my training and nutrition for lifestyle or bodybuilding and competing. I have a coach page on Instagram, emma.k coach, and then also emma.k IFBB Pro. Yeah, and I have a website as well. All links are on there.
Cool. That'll be in the show note for you listening, so you can check that out. But I want to thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your experience, your journey, for being open with it all, because I think this was great. And I think the person listening, hopefully get some good things from this. I know that they will, but thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.